Do you know that Nigerian Airways used to be one of the biggest airlines in Africa? Our planes were traveling to London, New York, Amsterdam, and several other international destinations every other day. So how did an airline that used to be the pride of African skies pack up? To understand what really happened, we need to go back to the 1980s. During the period that the airline was still functional, Nigeria was mostly under military rule. Top officials, politicians, and even their families were using the airline like their personal Uber. In fact, there were reports of international flights being delayed for hours just because a top official somewhere was running late from a party or something like that. Politicians would demand first-class tickets for their friends and families. In fact, at some point, the number of free riders got so many that they started affecting the operations of the airline. But that was just the beginning. There were so many allegations of powerful people awarding themselves the contract for aircraft maintenance. These were people who knew practically nothing about aircraft maintenance. At the end of the day, many of these maintenance were not done. And because they were not done, many of the aircraft were not certified to fly. And because they were not certified to fly, the operations of the airline was affected. Instead of appointing aviation experts to handle the affairs of the airline, time and again, loyalists were appointed. In fact, at some point, training contracts with brands like KLM that was supposed to train our people and make them better at their job were cancelled. And because different military regimes were coming and going, the management of the airline was constantly changing. By the late 80s, the damage had been done. By this time, so many Nigerian Airways planes were spending more time on the ground than in the air. Some could not fly just because maintenance was not done. Some others were just basically too old to compete with newer fleets around the world. The number of planes that were actually functional in their fleets were getting fewer and fewer and fewer. By the time military rule finally ended and democracy returned in 1999, the airline was basically dead and drowning in debt. Nigerian Airways had gone from owning over 20 planes that flew several international routes to owning just one functional plane that was struggling with domestic routes. By this time, the airline was owing so much landing fees and fuel bills that international airports were seizing our planes. When the government started asking questions, do you know what they discovered? Over $400 million meant for the airline was mismanaged. And it was not all the money that was mismanaged. 20 former staff of the airline were also indicted. In fact, the panel recommended that they should be banned for life from holding any public office. By 2003, the airline was officially liquidated. By that time, it had accumulated about $528 million in debt. Nigerian Airlines was the pride of Africa. It was everything Ethiopian Airlines wanted to be. That airline had the potential to make Nigeria one of the region's biggest aviation hub, and by extension, develop our tourism and hospitality industries. But corruption destroyed it.